Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to the Jeep Solid Garage. I'm so glad you're here. So today we are going to be covering installation of our piston rings. Rattlesnakes!
Don't drop it.
Stop! Actually had this for a... And now if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you can follow along as I take this engine, you're the way cat. So, as I take this engine through a complete rebuild, like I said, today we're doing piston rings. We're going to be looking at how to gap the piston rings and install them without breaking them. So, and this kit was given to me by Engine Tech to do this review on, so over the course of the next few weeks or months, I'm going to be covering all the installation and the rebuild on this, but today we are just doing the piston rings. Alright, so I've had my engine here. And this has been bored out 30 thousandths over at my machine shop, so they did an excellent job there. And I've got my new Engine Tech rings here, and these are 30 thousandths over. So we are going to cover how to gap the rings with our cylinders here, make sure the gap is proper, and the installation of the rings onto the pistons, how to do that without breaking them, as I mentioned earlier. And I'd like to give a special shout out, a special thank you to my patrons here. I really appreciate your guys' support. Helps support the channel, helps me finance things so I can make these videos, because yeah, it does take a lot of work, a lot of time, but I really enjoy sharing my experiences with you guys and the processes that I'm going through on this rebuild. So if it's helped you out and you want to help support my shop, help support the Jeep Solid Garage, I'll link the Patreon account in the description below. So we're going to start with a nice clean surface, because anytime we're doing an engine assembly, pistons, rings, whatever, bearings, anything like that, we want a nice clean surface. Everything has to be clean, clean, clean. Alright, I've got our piston rings and our pistons here, feeler gauges. I think we're all set. And as I mentioned, my cylinders are bored 30 thousandths over. That's why we're using the Engine Tech 30 thousandths over rings. And my pistons are assembled on the rods. The machine shop did that for me as well. It's pretty cheap and easy for them to do, so it's definitely the way to do it. They're all cleaned up nice, look good. All these parts, everything here, I'm going to list in the description below where you can find this complete rebuild kit, pistons, rings, everything you need. And now on our piston rings here, we need to pay very particular attention to the order that these go in. If we open it up here, we simply open it up. So there's going to be instructions on your box here. This says top groove, second groove, bottom groove. These are your oil control rings, and these top two here, these are your compression rings. And I would just leave them in the box until you're ready to use them, because you want to keep them in this order. So we're going to start by checking the ring in gap on cylinder number 1. So let's find piston number 1. And now we're going to take let's start with the top groove here. We'll just do these guys in order real quick. So we'll take one ring out for the top groove. Now I'm going to just place this in here, and I'm going to kind of push it together a little bit, slide it down in here. And now we need to square it up in the cylinder here. So I'm going to take the piston, just slide it down in there until that makes the ring square. And now that we have the ring down in there squarely, we can check the end gap here. So we're going to take a feeler gauge here. The end gap clearance I'm using is 10 to 24 thousandths of an inch. So check the end gap for the application that you're using it for. And we're going to find a feeler gauge that just fits in here snug. That's 16,000, a little too much. Or a little too loose on that 16,000. Let's see here. Let's try 18 thousandths. Oh yeah, that feels good. That's Fits in there just snug, so... Boy, maybe it's 17. But regardless, it's so close here that it's within spec, so I can go ahead and continue here. But I just want to double check here. Let's see if it is 17 thousandths. Yeah, there we go. That fits perfect. So just so it slides in there snugly, so it slides in there snug, and that's our top ring right there. So we can go ahead and take this one out gently without scratching the bore. And I'm going to put that up here, and remember that that's my top ring. Now I'm going to check my second ring here. Let's find 17 again, because that fit pretty good. Yeah, that fits nice. So that's within spec as well. So my top ring and second ring on cylinder 1 look good. Now, before I get any further, I don't want to confuse where these rings are at, which one's top, which one's second. So let's pull out our oil control ring here. So this is a 3-part ring. So we've got a top and bottom, those don't really matter. And then our expansion ring here. And we're actually going to install this guy first. We're going to go ahead and assemble all the rings on piston number 1 here so I don't lose track of what I've measured, which is the top ring, the second ring, the bottom ring. So I'll just keep everything in order. I do have a set of piston ring expansion pliers here. This will help with the top ring and the second ring. You don't want to use this on the oil control ring though, so we're going to set it off to the side. So let's start out by installing the expansion ring. So we've got these 3 grooves on our piston here, right? So this is fairly easy to install. We're going to just hook the bottom end in here like that. We're being careful not to run around and scratch any of the surface of the piston. We want to maintain that in good order. So we get the expansion ring in there. And yeah, I'm doing this all by hand because these are really pliable. Be gentle with them though, you want to break anything. Let's get the bottom rail in here, and we're going to open it up just enough to slide it in place there. The bottom rail and the top rail. And once we have the expander and the 2 rails installed there, we just want to make sure it spins okay, and let's find the end of the expander there. Where is it? We just want to check and make sure that this expander isn't overlapped over itself. It usually doesn't, but just double check that. And then these gaps right here on the 2 rails. Now, per the instructions, we're going to rotate these rail gaps 1 inch to the right and 1 inch to the left of the gap of the spacer here. Okay, now that we've got the oil control ring in place, we can go ahead and move on to ring number 2. So that's the middle groove here, and this is our ring number 2. This is where we're going to definitely use our expansion pliers, and you want to be careful because you can break these, you can snap them in half. So that's the last thing I want to do is have to start all over, order a new kit. Now on ring number 2 here, there's a top and bottom to it because there's a little bit of a bevel to it. Very, very slight, but I wonder if I could pick that up on camera. Yeah, there's a very slight bevel to it, so there's a top and bottom to this. If you look really close, yeah, there's a little dot on top of this one, and there might be a little dot or some kind of marking or something that says top, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's the top ring. This is the second ring. Remember, we pulled it out of the second ring spot. Second groove is what they have it labeled. And this is the top of it, so the top of the second groove. Okay, so we've got the second ring here. I've got my little dot there, so I know that's the top. So I'm going to throw it in my expansion pliers here, and I'm going to be very gentle here because, I don't know, I haven't broken any rings, but I've read stories of people breaking rings. So we're going to open it up and expand it just enough to fit over the top here, and slide it down into that second groove. There we go. Okay, got our oil control ring in, our second ring in. Now we can go with our top one. Now on this set, the top ring, this one, it doesn't really have a top or bottom. They call this a square cut, where my second ring here is a bevel cut, so it is directional, where this one, top one is not, so it doesn't have any markings on it. So let's just throw it in place real quick. Again, being very careful. Again, being very careful not to over expand it. And drop it in place. And then when we're finally installing this into the engine, we'll double check that our gaps here, we're going to offset them. We don't want them lined up like that. So we want them turned to opposite ends so we don't get any blow-by or any oil leakage or anything. That just kind of helps prevent that a little bit. So that's piston number 1 done. So we can set this guy off to the side and get started on piston number 2 and repeat the same process. Piston number 2. Let's get our top ring and second ring. Check the second ring first. Drop it down into our cylinder. Square it up with the piston. And check our gap. What was it before? 17, which was within spec. Let's check with 17 thousandths here. Feels pretty good. Within spec. So that's ring 2. Keeping these guys in order. The top one, ring number 1 on the top, ring number 2 on the bottom. And we're just going to kind of go through the same process with all 6 cylinders. Oh yeah, that feels good. Good gap there. So this is all within spec. Let's get our 2 rails out for our oil control ring and the spacer. Throw this guy together real quick. And they design these spacers so it can't really overlap, but it's always a good idea just to double check. Yeah, these guys are really pliable, so just be gentle with them, but you can just do these 2 rails by hand. Get in there. Drop our 2 rails in. Just double check that it spins freely. It's not overlapping anywhere, looks good. Ring number 2, check the orientation. Here's my little dot, this is the top. And we'll slide it down in place here. And then our top ring. So we'll just repeat this same process for all 6 cylinders. Rotate these guys so they're not lined up with each other. Piston number 2 is done. So cool, going pretty smooth. Let's move on to number 3 here. All right, number 4. So I'm just gonna bust out the rest of these. Be sure to leave a comment or question down below. I love hearing from you guys. Love the Jeep community, and I will be sure to include all the tools, this engine rebuild kit, everything I'm using in the description below. Some of my favorite tools are listed down there as well, so be sure to check that out. So that's all in the description below. Alright, cylinder 5. So yeah, if you don't subscribe, consider doing that so you can follow along on this rebuild. I hope to have this up and running by, let's see, this is March, April, May. When does spring end? So definitely by the end of spring, maybe beginning of summer, have this rebuild done. That'll be awesome. Start it up, see how it sounds. All the gaps on this look good. Go ahead and throw the alright, oil control ring in here. So yeah, this project is really not that hard, just taking it step by step. One thing at a time. It's taken me a while, but it's okay. Not in a hurry. But so far, everything's going pretty good. Ring number 2 with my dot on it. Put this guy on real quick. Recording and making a video makes the project take 3 times longer, I estimate. It just takes, you just gotta slow down, get the shots and explain everything, edit the video, post it, do descriptions, just, it's really a lot that goes into it. But I enjoy doing it. I enjoy sharing my experience on this rebuild with you guys, so thanks for following along. I appreciate it. And like I said, let's see, top groove, second groove. Don't distract me here. So like I said, I really enjoy hearing from you guys. I really enjoy the Jeep community and hanging out with you guys in the shop. It's always kind of fun. This is just a real quick, fairly easy video. Was it my last video on, oh, the Brown Dog motor mounts? Yeah, that was a biggie. That one just took quite a while. Or some of those longer videos, like that one is what, like a 20-minute video. It just takes a long time to do the repair, record that, edit it. Editing a 20-minute video, just, yeah, it takes a while. But being able to help people out, make a little bit of income at it, it helps. And there's my gap, there it is. Yeah. Didn't check the gap on these yet, did I? See? You guys distracted me. Yeah, these guys are good. Alright, ring 2. A little dot on it. Alright. And when we install these, we'll double check our gaps that they aren't lined up with each other. That'll do it for today, so yeah, I've got other things to go take care of. Oh, there's little instructions in here. Cool.